All right, everybody, want to welcome you. I'm Kevin Cochran, co-founder of Enriched Academy. Excited to be here today. It's Financial Literacy Month, so Enriched Academy thought, why not go out and start running some webinars this month and talk about money? Obviously, you take a look at the landscape of what's going on in the world right now. Obviously, everybody's talking about COVID. It's the number one thing everybody's talking about. But the second thing everybody's talking about is money and debt, job losses, inflation. These things are real things. And that's why at Enriched Academy, we feel that this is just an awesome time to talk about this incredibly important skill of money management. A little bit about me. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. I'm 44 years old. I just live northeast of Toronto and been a huge advocate about teaching this important lesson of money management for well over a decade. Bottom line, we're just never taught about money. You can see this catastrophic failure, whether it's our parents that didn't teach us, the school systems that didn't teach us about money. And so I have to admit, the schools are slowly getting better at educating young adults about money, which I think is so important, right? Still, it's a process to get your curriculum built in. But if you look Canada-wide, Enriched Academy is the company that Canadians are going to when it comes to teaching people about financial literacy. We have over 2 million course views, 170,000 users. We're very excited about that. And we've just got an incredible lineup of schools and governments that use our education. I think a lot of people like Enriched Academy because we're not sponsored by banks or financial institutions. And I'll tell you why. We're not anti-financial institution. You need them, right? But sometimes when you get financial literacy given to you by the banks or credit unions, they're kind of taking you down a path to purchase something that they own, like a line of credit or a mutual fund or something like that. And that's not what we do. We don't want to dilute our message by taking you down a path to buy a financial product. Instead, what we do is whether it's getting you out of debt, saving money, buying investment properties, that's what Enriched Academy does. And we're very proud to say we've done an extraordinary job doing that right across Canada. Again, a snapshot of some of our education. This is even a dated slide, believe it or not, but we work with the Toronto District School Board, Alberta government, Prince Edward Island. I believe this year we'll have north of 200,000 students that'll have access to our Enriched Academy program, which is extremely difficult to do. I've been fortunate of growing a couple of companies in my past to multi-million-dollar businesses, and very proud to say that. But I will say, out of any business I've ever run, this hands down has been the most difficult. When approaching school boards, governments, it's very difficult to try to get your curriculum built in because they have to remove 8 hours of curriculum, add yours in, find budgets, train teachers, get teachers aware of it. But again, as we said, we're making inroads unlike any other company when it comes to financial literacy in schools, which is awesome. But it's also not just schools, corporations, unions are using our program as well. We work with the BC British Columbia Police Association. We work with the NPF. We work with the NHL alumni, CFL. We're starting our programs with the OHL. We launched with the Oshawa Generals a couple of weeks ago, the Kitchener Rangers this week, Remax, Royal LePage, Dominion Lending Centers. And I'll tell you why corporations and unions are using financial literacy now is because companies take depression seriously, which they should, because it's a real thing. They look at alcoholism and drugs, and they want to provide courses and resources for employees at work for those, because that affects workplace performance, because whether you're not happy at home be based on these challenges that you might be dealing with, depression, alcoholism, drugs, that affects workplace performance and missed days and distracted workers. And now guess what? These companies and organizations are taking financial literacy seriously now too. If you look at Canada.com, and they have something based on stress and money when it comes to Canadians. The amazing thing is that financial stress for Canadians ranks as the number one stress Canadians have. Canadians worry more about their money than they do about their personal health. Think about that. That's crazy. It's the number one stress people have. And it's interesting because when I see stuff like that, it's amazing to see how financial literacy isn't more on the forefront, because it's such a clear issue. Why we created Enriched Academy: number one, the financial service industry does not have to disclose the fees they charge. That to me is crazy, right? It's one of the muddiest industries. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. More than half Canadians live paycheck to paycheck. I'll ask you this question. You don't have to answer, but ask yourself this. Imagine your income stopped today and you had no more money coming in as of right now. How long could you maintain the current lifestyle you have if you didn't have any more income coming in from your job? Right? Most people look at their watch and like, I don't know, I could last till about 3 o'clock. Right? And here's the thing is that it's not, I think everybody has to go through that once or twice in their life. But this is what I will always say. If you're in your mid 40s and 50s watching this or 60s, and you're like, man, if I don't go to work tomorrow, I don't get paid. Within a month or two, we can't pay our bills. That's a problem. So there's something catastrophically wrong with what how your finances are being managed. Because at some point you have to realize the average Canadian that retires comfortably in Canada has 3 streams of income, 3 of them, right? Whether it's investment properties, dividend paying stocks, something like that. You have to start figuring out a way that your income doesn't just rely on you going to work every day. It just has to. If you don't, don't shoot the messenger, because one day you're going to find out, right? Either you figure it out now, and that's why courses like Enriched Academy are in place, is to help Canadians start creating those alternative revenue streams for you so that you can retire comfortably. 47% of Canadians age 55 to 64 have nothing saved for retirement. This is pre-COVID. The average saving rate for Canadians dropped from 20% in the 80s to under 5% today. So what's happening is we're earning more than ever, but we're actually saving less than ever. So that's an issue. And when it comes to our passive debt, the average North American owes over $9,500 in their credit card. And I show this all the time. Like, this is my credit card statement right here. It's a Royal Bank $4,900 credit card bill. I'm not saying use Royal Bank. That's the bank I'm with. We're with my credit card. I use most of the banks, but it's $4,900. This isn't hard credit card debt to get into. And if you were to pay off your credit card only making minimum payments at 90% interest, this $4,900 would take you, and it actually says it right at the bottom of this credit card form, it would take you 43 years and 5 months to pay this off. So think about that. And here's the problem. We have doctors, some of the smartest Canadians in the country, come to our live events, and I'll never forget, they're sitting there and they're panicking. I remember one doctor came up to me and he's like, I owe $10,000 on my credit card. I've been making minimum payments for 3 years. I can't get ahead. And I'm like, pal, you're not going to pay this off for 90 years. And he didn't know. Right. And for some reason, I think we're hardwired to believe the smarter you are, the more money you make, that means they're the richest, or the older you get, you know more about money. Here's the reality. I look at money as a language, and we use it every day. And most people don't know how the language works. Right. It's like, I don't know anything about Spanish. The older I get, I don't learn more about Spanish unless I sit down and learn that language. And same thing when it comes to money. Most people have a credit card, but they don't understand how the math works behind it. Right. And credit card companies make $22 billion annually. They thrive. They thrive on us not understanding how money works. And that's why I always laugh, because there are some financial literacy programs built into school systems, but they're sponsored or backed by financial institutions like this, right? Where they're like, hey, 19% interest. You're letting the fox in the hen house. That's what you're doing. Right. And so I have a really big issue with that. So here's the deal. We're going to go through 7 steps on how to create financial success. So step number 1 is the equation of wealth. Now, on past sessions, Arian might have gone, or somebody else at Enriched Academy might have gone through a few of these. I'm going to repeat some of the stuff we've done in the past, but at the same time, I've added some new material in here too when it comes to building wealth. But here's the deal. The equation of wealth, hands down, is this. If you want to build wealth, if you want to make money, right? Build wealth for yourself, you have to master 2 skills. You have to learn how to make money, but you have to learn how to save and invest it, right? You have to learn how to make money, but you have to learn how to save and invest it. And the problem is, all we do our whole life is learn how to make money. That's why you go to school. You go to schools to get skills. Then what happens is you put those skills on a resume and you shop those resumes around, and eventually somebody will pay you for the skills that you learned in school. And then if you do a really good job at your job, guess what they're going to do? They're going to oh my gosh, we love you. You're doing a great job. You know what we want to do? We're going to give you a raise. Really? Yeah. We're going to train you to make more money. We're going to promote you to general manager. Then we make more money. So we make more and more money, yet our bank accounts don't reflect all the income that we're earning that's extra. And the reason why is we spend our whole life learning how to make money. We don't spend any time learning how to manage it. That's the problem. Plain and simple. That's it. And here's the craziest thing. For the thousands of hours we have to learn how to make money, it only takes, honestly, a few hours to learn how to manage it. It doesn't take thousands of hours learning how to manage our money. We just don't learn it. But here's a perfect example. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of money. 6 out of 10 NBA players are under financial distress within 5 years of retirement. 78% of NFL players on the brink of bankruptcy within 2 years of retirement. Major League Baseball players file for bankruptcy 4 times higher than the national average. Right? Do athletes have money-making issues? They don't. They have spending issues. Right? We work with a lot of NHL past players and a few current ones that we've worked with as well. And it's interesting. You look at it and go, NHL players, just because they make $1 million a year, it doesn't mean they take home $1 million. Right? They make $1 million a year, but half of it's tax, gone. You'll never see that again. 50% tax, done. Right? Then they got to pay escrow, which is 13%. They got to pay $130,000 back to the owners. So that $1 million they have, now they're down to $370,000, and they haven't paid their agent yet. That's 3 to 5%. So they're taking home like $350,000 for every $1 million they make. Right? Now, no, that's not a bad thing, but the problem is when you only have a career of 2.5 years, 3 years at most for the average player, right? That's not a lot of money for a short amount of time, right? So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that it's so important to understand just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you'll have a lot of money. We used to do, when you could do live events, I can't tell you how many plumbers that we met. That doesn't look like a plumber on the left, a little more like a business person, but I met so many plumbers and electricians, people in trades that made $90,000 a year, and they'd have a higher net worth than lawyers making $200,000 a year, like all the time, right? Like it's amazing how many people that I've met that make half the income of other people but have a higher net worth, right? And here's the thing: of the plumber that I meet making $90,000 a year doesn't necessarily have the nicest car. They have a beat up pickup truck, but it's paid off in full. They live in a smaller home, but own 3 of them because 2 of them are investment properties, right? Versus, maybe the lawyer's driving a nice, beautiful BMW, but it's leased, doesn't own it. Huge house, huge mortgage, right? And that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, we have to take a look at it and say, just because somebody makes a lot of money doesn't mean they have a lot. And that's why a lot of people come up to us in our programs are like, I don't make a lot of money. Is that a big deal? No. Because some of the wealthiest people I've met, not richest, but some of the wealthiest people I've met don't make the largest amount of income. And that's so important to understand that. So if you want to master money, you have to do 2 things. You have to learn how to make it, which most people know how to make money. The problem is we don't know how to manage and save it. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is the saving part of it, right? The number one asset when it comes to building wealth, the number one strategy, not asset, is leveraging equity. This right here, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. This is one of the key secrets to building wealth, is leveraging equity. Now, there's no one size that fits all. The older that you are, if you're in your 50s, 60s, you want to be a little more conservative and manage this money a little bit better. But the reality, leveraging equity you have right now to purchase assets that can build wealth is the key. It's the absolute key to building wealth in Canada. You've heard save 10%. We talked about that in past sessions. That's part of it. That kind of sets the stage. But once you get into building wealth, you have to learn how to use the equity you have to start building multiple streams of income, right? Especially what we're talking about, your home equity line of credit. The best 2 things you can do with your home equity line of credit is pay off high interest debt. And the second is invest with it, hands down. So I want everybody to do, watching right now, I'm going to show you the formula that financial institutions use when it comes to building wealth in Canada. When it comes to home equity line of credits. So if you're watching right now, what I want you to do is get a piece of paper and a pen out and run this exercise with me. It won't take very long. If you own a home, do this, because this is how the financial institutions run the math when it comes to your home equity line of credit. Number 1, what I want you to do on that piece of paper in front of you, write down what you believe the value of your home is. I used $500,000 here. Right? Don't write down what you hope your home would sell for. Really honestly write down what you think it's going to sell for, right? Then what I want you to do is multiply that value of your home by 80%. Multiply the value of your home by 80%. So what's 500,000 times 80%? That's $400,000, right? Now, line number 4, there's going to be 5 lines you want here. Line number 1, value of your home. Line number 2 is 80%. Line number 3 is 80% of the value of your home. Line number 4 is this. Write down what your current mortgage is. So in this case, I use $300,000. So $500,000 home times 80% is $400,000. Line number 4 is $300,000. Then what I want you to do is take line number 3, 80% of the value of your home, subtract your mortgage that you currently have on your house, $400,000 minus $300,000. That's the line of credit you can possibly qualify for pending your credit rating, right? So it's $100,000. So this is the way I look at it. This $100,000 in this case, that's like imagine like you're planting a garden of wealth. Every dollar you have, every $100,000, that whole $100,000, every dollar you have is like a seed that you can plant to grow more money. That's what you can do with it. Like, it's brilliant. Like, so you're telling me I have equity and I own a home that everybody brags about how much their house is worth now when everybody's house has gone up in value, right? Which is great, right? Sure, but it kind of cancels itself out when everybody's value of their homes have gone up. But here's the thing. So the value of your home's gone up, but that equity that's sitting in your property, right? What are you doing with that? That's the secret sauce to building wealth. Right there. Those dollars, right? Can you take that and put it into something else that can grow in value? That's how the wealthy do it. That's what rich parents taught their kids to do, right? These are the secrets. That's it. We're telling you. It's simple, right? If you don't have 20% equity in your home, you do not qualify for a home equity line of credit. If you have no mortgage on your home, just so you know, the maximum line of credit you can get on your home is 65% of the value of the home. So let me show you what I mean. If you have a value of $500,000 on your home and that's paid off, so your home is worth $500,000, $500,000, the maximum line of credit you'll qualify for is $325,000. Okay, but you can maximize up. You can go up to 80% by mortgaging the remaining 15%. So you can do a home equity line of credit of 65% and a mortgage of 15%. So if you have, let's just say in this case that I showed you earlier, you have $100,000 and at 3 to 5%, just so you know, it's at 2.45 right now. We use 3 to 5, so we don't have to always update it, but it just shows you, we've had this slide here for 5 years now, 3 to 5%. So it just shows you, man, it's not, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not going to, this is all entertainment purpose only, to be clear. But I will say that I don't know how they're going to raise rates anytime soon, because that's the one thing that's kind of keeping this thing going. Mind you, that affects inflation. But anyways, $100,000, what could you do with that? Number one, you can pay off high interest debt at 19%. I was working with a gentleman, and it was a police officer. He had $15,000 worth of credit card debt at 19% interest, right? Let's say 19.99. So every year he was paying $3,000 in interest. He was only making minimum payments. So over 3 years, he's been making those minimum payments. That's $9,000 that he paid somebody else. Only two people can have your money, either you or somebody else. If your interest rates are high, you're giving it to everybody else. And I sat there and I said, okay, that's crazy. I said, how many times did you have to, how many hours do you have to work to make $9,000? It's a lot of money. That's you leaving your family, putting your life on the line, you know, to do that. So I said, well, let's put a home equity line of credit on your property. And I said, and take equity out of your property and pay down that high interest loan. He goes, oh my gosh, that's my retirement plan. I don't know if I want to do that. I said, pal, your payments are going to go from interest payments from $3,000 a year, right, down to under 3%. Like, what's that? That's I think it was 600, it's 500 and change or something like that, right? It was 300 plus 150, 450 a year, right? I said, you're going to put $2,600 back in your pocket. Take that $2,600 that you're saving in interest payments a year and pay down the principal of your mortgage. Or sorry, pay back the loan that you're taking out, right? That's the key. What you could also do is you can buy an investment property. So if you buy an investment property with your home equity line of credit, as long as you set it up properly, right? Talk to an accountant before doing any of this. But if you do that, the interest on that mortgage, that home equity line of credit, that 2.45% is tax deductible. That's amazing. Again, so you're borrowing money against your house, making that home equity line of credit tax deductible, right? So you're taking this, I hope that makes sense, right? The next is you can begin private lending in first and second mortgages, a great business to be in Canada, right? You want to educate yourself when it comes to first and second mortgages, but it's phenomenal. We did an event last week, had a few ladies in the program that were actually that have been on our program for years, and they're lending out their money and they love it. They're using the equity in their property. Like, I'm borrowing at my house for 2.45%, lending it out at 10%. We taught them how to do that. That's what Enriched Academy does, right? You can invest in the market, right? When the markets collapsed last year, after back in March 2020, when the pandemic started, you know, everything went on sale, everything. And I sat there and I said, you know, based on your own, you know, ability to, you know, take risk. But, you know, you could borrow against your own house at 2.45%, and you can buy stocks right now that are 60, 70% off. 40 days later, the market started rebounding, doing phenomenally well. I'm not saying that's usual. I didn't think it was going to bounce back in 40 days or 30 days, But that was amazing. You could borrow at 2.45%. You could buy a stock at $10,000, spend at $10,000 to borrow $10,000 would have cost you $300. You could have bought, pretty much any blue chip stock, and you would have maybe doubled your money. Right? Not bad. It cost $300. That's what I mean. Use other people's money to help you build that wealth. It's critical to do that, but you want to make sure you have the right plan so you don't overextend yourself. What you don't want to do, and I see people do this all the time when it comes to their equity in their house, they buy cars, they buy entertainment systems or go on vacation or fancy cars or, lavish furniture or something like that. I just think like that's insane. Like that's taking these seeds of wealth and what you're doing, you're throwing them in the garbage, right? Every dollar you have in the equity in your property should be building wealth, not going on vacation or buying cars or depreciating assets. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Okay, the next thing to building wealth is in some cases you'll need an advisor to manage your money. You need to make sure you understand how your financial statement works. Okay, so if you take a look at it, this is a financial statement. Most of us don't even know how to read it. Again, we think financial literacy is for those people that are struggling cash flow. Even people with money don't know what their money is doing. Right? Number one, see, this is code or symbol of the product. That's a code or symbol of the product that you own. This is a financial statement. 2 is quantity. That's how many you own. 3 is current price. That's the current price per share. 4 is book value. That's what you originally paid. I don't know why they don't say originally paid. Right? 5 is market value. Market value. That's what you could sell the product, net the MER. 6 are the name of the fund. See Dynamic Strategic Yield Fund, Century, and so forth. 7 is this. This is from a coaching member that we had. Obviously, you can see we don't have any other account numbers here or name. They allowed us to use this, but this gives you an example of a financial statement. The last thing is this. These letters I just highlighted, FEDSCLL. If you have a financial advisor, and if you look at your financial statements and see these letters, you need to immediately reconsider who your financial advisor is. Okay? And I'm telling you why. These letters are predatory. I think they should all be illegal. I don't think any of this stuff makes any sense whatsoever. FE means front end loaded. If whoever buys that fund takes a 1 to 2% commission from your money plus an MER on top of that. Deferred sales charge, which in most provinces they don't even sell this stuff anymore. Ontario still allows this. Means whoever sells you this product has locked you in for 5 to 7 years, and if you want to get out, it's huge fees to get out. LL means low load. It's like a deferred sales charge. Most people don't know any of this stuff. Let me tell you why I'm so adamant about this. I was $20,000 in credit card debt myself 2 years after finishing high school. Like I was in a lot of debt. I finally got out of that, which was great. And then what happened? I started saving money, saved $150,000. $150,000, which is hard to do. And what I did is I asked a mentor of mine, I said, who's your financial advisor? I'd love to use them. Assuming they knew what they were talking about. They were older, smarter than me. And they're like, oh, use my advisor. And I used them. The problem is when I gave them $150,000, they had that money for 7 years. And when I cashed out, I ended up with $142,000. So how's that possible? Because all the fees attached to these funds, it's not like the funds weren't returning any income, which is great. They were returning income, or they were giving me returns. But all the fees attached to it ate up the returns. And when I wanted cashed out of it, I got penalized for doing it. And this is what I want everybody to pay attention to right now, what I'm about to say. You know how many hours I had to work to make $150,000? A lot. A lot of hours to make $150,000, right? But here's the crazy thing. What I just taught you in the last 10 minutes, if somebody would just sat me down in 10 minutes and taught me that, like it took me years to save $150,000, 10 minutes to explain how to manage it. That's the amazing thing of financial literacy. That's why I love it. Like, I just can't get enough of it. Because to me, it's like, it's all the answers to the test. Right? If somebody would have just sat down with me, I wish I watched this course 20 years ago. Would have saved me tons of money. But I didn't know. Because we're not taught. Number 4 is understanding where where your money should go. Understanding the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF. Right? What a mutual fund is, how one works, just so you know, okay, is imagine we group all your money together. Everybody listening right now, we group all our money together and you give it to a mutual fund manager. A mutual fund manager's job is to outperform the market. That's what they do. That's how mutual funds are sold. They're like, the market return was this last year. Our return was this. It was way higher. Right? So what they're saying is that they're going to outperform the market. An index fund says, okay, let's pool our money together, but what we're not going to do is try to outperform the market. What we're going to do is just put it into a market. Right? right? So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, when it comes to mutual funds in Canada, just so you know, there's 17,000 mutual funds controlling $1.48 trillion of our money, right? Just so you know, the challenge is only 8% of all mutual fund managers beat the overall market over a 15-year period. Over like 8%. So if you're sitting there in Vegas, you want to play, 92% of mutual funds don't outperform the market over a long period of time. They may over a year or two, you hear, oh, last year, this is what the market return was. We were this, we were higher. And that's great. But most of us aren't day traders. We're not trying to, get in and out of stuff. We're like, I want to set it and forget it. That's the way most people I meet want to do it, right? If you're sitting playing blackjack, right, your goal is to get 21. If you're sitting on a 19, you really wouldn't hit on a 19, right? Why would you? Your odds of hitting 21 are low. You want to know your odds of hitting 21 on a 19, your odds are the exact same, right? Just so you know, your odds are the exact same of hitting 21 on a 19 than choosing a mutual fund that'll outperform the market, right? So you never hit on a 19, right? So what is passive investing? That's all of us grouping all of our money together, right? It's an investment strategy to maximize returns by minimizing buying and selling. Investors seek to replicate and hold broad market index. So that, you know what that is? That's a bunch of complicated language. So let me simplify it. Has anybody ever heard of the S&P 500? I'm sure you have. You watch CNN, they're like the S&P 500's up, down. They use it as a market indicator. The top 500 companies, just so you know, the top 500 companies in the United States, that's the name of, that's why it's the 500, like Visa, Walt Disney. That's what the 500 represents, the top 500 companies in the United States. It's interesting. This morning I read an article, and what I love about this 500, I'm going to send this to you just so you can see it. Hold on one second here. Let me see. Right here. This top 500 companies, it's revolving. So meaning that another company can come in and boot one of these out. So I read this, if you invested $10,000 into Elon, this is this morning, into Tesla, Elon Musk 10 years ago, your stake would be worth $1.8 million now. That works out more than a 68% average annual return. The same 10,000 put into the S&P 500 during the same time, this is what we're talking about, grew just by 272%, 37,000. That's a 14% compounded annually. So my point being is that Tesla is now part of the S&P 500, meaning it kicks somebody else out. So here's the deal. You can go invest in Tesla, you can do, Disney, Visa, but imagine there was a stock that existed that represents all 500 companies. And guess what there is, right? There is the stock. It represents all these 500 companies, from Costco to eBay to Apple, all of them, right? Berkshire Hathaway. If anybody knows, that's Warren Buffett's company. This is way dated. I should get a new one. I apologize. If you want to buy one share of Berkshire Hathaway, it's $490,000 right now. It was last week, right? It's an immense amount of money, or $400,000 and change, right? A lot, right? Guess what? This Vanguard stock that we're talking about actually is one of them. It's putting all your eggs in one basket, which it's not putting all your eggs in one basket, which is amazing. Right, so this one Vanguard stock, it's liquid. The fees are extremely low, and I think it's like 90-ish dollars and change for one of the shares. And you own all 500 companies. Now think about this: these 500 companies have one job only. All 500. What is their one job? Is to make money. Period. Bottom line, returns for investors. That's all they want to do. So these 500 companies hire the top CEOs, COOs, CFOs in the world, the best of the best, right? Do you think one mutual fund manager can outperform these 500 brains? Not a chance. They might one year or another year, but consistently, no. They will always win, right? This 500 will always win. The job of an index fund and match. This is the same thing. You can go out and buy Royal Bank stock. You can buy TD stock. You can buy any bank, the top 5. There's an ETF that represents all 5 banks. That's an index, right? So that's what I mean, understanding your fees. Look at your financial statement. If you see those deferred sale charts, front-end loaded, low loads, get rid of that stuff. That stuff is junk, huge fees, right? Eat up all your returns. Start looking at ETFs like this. I'm not saying you should buy it. I'm being very clear. I'm just saying, start taking a look at the ETFs. Lower your fees, liquid. You're not locked into anything, right? Just so you know, Warren Buffett actually did a bet back in 2008 prior to the financial crisis. Right? Warren Buffett said, I'll put $1 million for charity. He said, I think the S&P 500 is going to outperform any mutual fund or hedge fund manager. So a protege partner said, we'll take you up on that bet. This is before the crash of 2008. Just so you know, back in 2018, Warren Buffett had an 86% return over that 10 years, protege partner to 21%. Like, starts to make sense, right? These are simple investing strategies that make sense. David Swenson, CIO of Yale University, on an after-fee, after-tax basis over a reasonably long period of time, there's almost no chance that you end up beating an index fund, right? It's so simple. Indexing is the way to go. Invest in great businesses without paying all the fees of a mutual fund manager, and hang on to those companies. You'll win over the long term, right? Hang on, you win over the long term. This is Warren Buffett has in his will that the majority of his assets when he dies are left in the S&P 500, that Vanguard. Number 5 is this: understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. We're going through 7 strategies. Here's number 5: is understand that it is okay to go into debt. Good debt appreciates in value. Bad debt depreciates in value, right? What's good debt? Mortgages, student loans in some cases, right? You look at coaching, stuff like that. Bad debt, retail credit cards, stuff like that, right? Things that, that you don't pay off in full. Going on vacation and putting it on your credit card and not paying it off. Stuff like that, that's bad debt. Cars. Now, I understand this may not reflect what's going on right now, but historically, if you look at this, if you buy a car and that car loses value, you buy a brand new car and you drive it off the lot, we know it's going to lose 20 to 30% of its value. That's what happens. That's historically what happens to a brand new car. You would never, ever, ever, ever buy a stock that you knew for $100 a share that would drop down 30% and never go back up. You wouldn't buy one. A car is always losing value, but we know that first year is critical. Look at this. This is a brand new Ford Fusion for $26,000, right? We found the Ford Fusion, same one a year earlier. This is just pre-COVID, again, which history tells us is the way it works, that it was this Ford Fusion was $16,500, a year old, same model, same accessories, and only 10,000 kilometers. So you're telling me you can buy a brand new car for $26,000, or the used car for $1,000, 30% off. Like, it's a no-brainer. A lot of people say, well, you don't get the smell of a new car. Well, go buy a new car scent smell at Esso for $3. Smell away. But I read this in the magazine. I don't know if a lot of you know this or not, but did you know that you're actually allowed to keep a car for more than 5 years? Like, people don't know that, right? If you buy a car, hold on to it as long as you can. People ask me what kind of car that I drive. Right? I've done well in my life, done financial independence by 39. I drive a 2010 Ford F-150 pickup with 215,000 kilometers. Right? That's what I drive. People go, oh man, like, why would you do that? Because I got 3 young kids. My car's smelling vomit and goldfish crackers. Right? But what happens is people buy a car, they pay it off, and then a year later they need new tires. They have no car payment. Then they're like, oh, we need new tires. How much is that? $800. Time for a new car. If your car is paid off, then keep it for as long as you can, man. My pickup truck cost me $750 a month to pay it off, right? And then I haven't had a car payment in 5 years. People go, what about repairs? Yeah, I put a couple $1,000s in repairs in my car every year, a couple $1,000. So $2,000, which is about $180 a month, versus $750 a month. So that's $500 that goes back into me that I can buy stocks that grow in value, right? Think about what the stock market's done in the last 5 years, putting $500 a month in the stock market versus a depreciating asset. Last couple points. Written plan. Bottom line, people come up to us all the time. I'm freaking out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I hear it all the time. More than 230 Canadians worry a lot about money, but 69% don't have a plan. You want to know why you don't have the worry? That's because you don't have a plan. I ask people, what's your net worth right now? What are you worth right now if you add it all together? Most people are like, I don't know. So you don't know where you are. Well, how much do you want when you retire? At what percentage return? I don't know. So you don't know where you are and you don't know where you want to go. No. So that's the panic. Think about this. If you're using your GPS to go somewhere, right, you need to know, the GPS only works when it knows where you are and where you want to go. And then it builds you a path to get there, right? It builds you a path to get there from A to Z. It tells you time of arrival. I don't know if anybody's ever used their GPS on their phone. It's great. You're driving where you want to go, right? You got your GPS going on, tells you expected time of arrival. You're totally calm. You're watching your driving where while you're on the highway, the exits are coming slow because he's got calm. You listen to your Michael Bolton on the radio, right? And then all of a sudden, has anybody been using their GPS and then you lose connection, battery dies out, something happens. And then all of a sudden you don't know where you're going. and you're driving and you're like, oh my gosh, now the exits are coming really quickly. You're now fighting with your spouse. Is it this exit? I don't know. You have instant panic. And I always find that panic that you have when you don't know where you are in a city trying to figure out where you want to go is identical to the panic what people have with money. It's because they don't know where they are. They don't know what their net worth is, and they don't know where the finish line is. Of course you're going to have panic. Like, it's obvious because we don't spend time. And then all that panic starts wearing down on our immune system. 6 out of 10 illnesses are caused by financial stress. 47% of divorces are caused by marriage, right? Just kidding. Caused by stress due to money, right? You know, it affects our relationship with our spouse and partner. Of course it does. How can it not? Right? You're at work, you're stressed out, you're trying to pay bills, you go home, you have a stack full of bills you don't want to open up. You don't think that affects your relationship with your spouse. But what we don't do is we don't take any proactive approach towards fixing it. Right? And the proactive approach is getting a coach, trying to figure out your way through it. What I did. Right? It's like, man, like I've earned a fair amount of money in my life. I got to start figuring out how to manage it, start reading up, taking crash courses on understanding it. Which leads to step number 7, continued self-education. People ask me what the secret sauce to building wealth is this. Warren Buffett, invest as much of yourself as you can, your own biggest asset by far, hands down, right? You can't rely on you to bring in income for the rest of your life. Warren Buffett said, I know we're Warren Buffetting you to death, but I'm going to say it again. I say another couple of quotes, and I want everybody to think about this very clearly. Warren Buffett said this. He said, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you will work to the day you die. If you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you'll work to the day you die. If you're watching this right now and you're in your 40s and 50s, right? And I'm going to get to the 20s and 30s here in a second, okay? If you're watching this and you're like, man, if I don't go to work, like if you're sitting there go, I don't have investment properties, I don't have dividend paying, I don't have any of this stuff, I'm telling you, please, let me tell you why I'm saying this, because if you're in your 40s and 50s, I met people in their 60s and 70s saying, man, I wish I was back in my 40s and 50s and I would have told myself this. And that's why I'm telling you, you're going to tell yourself this 20 years from now. I'm giving you the crash course and telling you what your future self's going to tell you, right? Start figuring this out now. This isn't a joke, man. Like, it's like this will cause you an incredible amount of stress. What happens if you get sick, can't work anymore, right? What happens if that happens? Then what happens? Now you're a liability to your family, right? So no, absolutely, you got to take this stuff incredibly seriously, right? And for those of you in your 20s and 30s, if you're like, man, this sounds like a great idea, I don't know where to start, that's what Enriched Academy does, right? And what we're going to offer you today is a free assessment call to help you build this plan for you, right? So what we're going to do is Mark is uploading a link, and what you can do is click that link, and what we'll do is we'll set up a free complimentary 45-minute call with you for a free assessment financial call. This assessment call can change your life. I'm telling you, it's incredible. I've personally worked with all the coaches. They're amazing. Last week we did our first live event. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. I've done a couple of webinars here today, but it was amazing because we had coaching members in the room. I didn't know they were there. I really didn't. And we're talking about coaching at our live event, and a couple, two ladies and a gentleman got up and they're like, "This thing changed my life." She's like, "I'm getting paid to be here." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I didn't understand. I go, "What do you mean you're getting paid to be here?" And she's like, "No, I because of you, I have multiple streams of income. While I'm here, I'm actually getting paid." So that's exactly what she goes. I got my private mortgages going on. I got my dividend paying stocks. I bought my first investment property. I'm like, isn't that amazing? Like, that's awesome. We had 2 people flying from Nanaimo, the other end of the country, to our live event. So you want to click for this free assessment call. It's amazing. We only have 30 spots available. They will be taken up, no doubt in my mind. This is the best time. You know what? We're going into January. It's very soon. Set up the foundation now for the rest of your life financially. This is the time, right now to do that. Right? And if you're going to set the call up, please make sure to show up. We're going to give you 45 minutes of our time. If you have a spouse and partner, make sure they show up. Do this 45 minutes undistracted. You're not walking into a big 45-minute sales pitch. We're there to help you out, talk to you. Maybe coaching is right for you, maybe it's not. So here's a link right here. If you want to click it, set up a call. And I'm telling you right now, as I said, I get pings here. I think we're already at 5 or 10. That's great. So keep going, sign up. And what I'll do is if there's any questions, I'm happy to open up to any questions. Or Mark, is there anything else I'm missing here? As far as you know, I'm going to dismiss all here and stop sharing my screen. And there you go. Any more live events? I wanted to attend the last one, but I couldn't make it. Yeah, you know what? We're working on that now. It was interesting just to gather the appetite for people. The live events are phenomenal. Keep online, Jackie, and we'll keep in the loop. Signed up. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that, pal. I'm telling you, thanks for signing up for the call. It's a game changer, man. Like, there's no logical reason. People always laugh at me. They're like, how did you become financially independent by 39? Right? You don't seem that bright. I'm not. Right? I'm not. What we've done is we just understand how money works. That's it. I didn't do it by living in the biggest home or by driving the fanciest car. Right? But that's what it is. It's like, how do you figure that out? Anyways, question. I understand that you pay withholding tax on U.S. Yes, that does apply. It all depends. I'd have to look at the investment. I'm trying to scroll down here. Hold on one second. Can you clarify what is best to put inside your TFSA? That all depends, Tanya. That's a really good question. Like, again, it's very difficult to just answer that question. I'm not trying to avoid your question, but everybody's priorities are a little bit different when it comes to what they want to invest in and so forth. So I'm a little uncomfortable answering that question because I don't know how old you are. I don't know what kind of debt. I don't know your outcome, marriage status, stuff like that. But again, TFSAs are a great tool to use. There's no doubt about it. Any growth in them is tax-free. But it's a little more difficult question to answer, just so you know. So I apologize about just being a little not a little more strict. So, okay, when you purchase the car, it becomes an asset of your business. Okay, so Marid says when you purchase a car, it becomes an asset of your business and can depreciate per year, not the same as a write-off. Yeah. So again, because I get asked if I'm understanding this question properly, I'm just going, yes, Ryan, that is fantastic. Sorry, as questions come in, I get booted out of the other one. Hold on. Are you presentation available? Done. Okay. So here's the thing. Some people talk to me about cars and write-offs all the time, and I don't know if I'm answering the question that you asked because it jumped away. Is that people are like, what about write-offs? We can write cars off. You can still write off a used car that's paid off. The write-offs are not as attractive. I'm not arguing that. But you can still write off a used car that's paid off based on the kilometers that you drive. You track your kilometers, right? And so that's what I'm trying to get at is that there's no write-off that I've seen, okay? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, that I've seen that outperforms no car payment. Like, there's no car payment. I think the two biggest things that hold Canadians back, I'm not about pinching pennies, like, don't go out for coffee. Do what you got to do. You got to obviously within reason, right? But to me, I pinch hundreds, man. I control my house payments, keep a small overhead. That's a secret to life, man. Small overhead. And the two biggest payments I think Canadians get wrapped into is car payments and mortgage payments. And you don't need the huge mortgage payment or the huge car. Pay it off, don't have it anymore. I wish you could see the fine print on the slides. Wealth managers require a minimum of $500,000 in your bank before they talk to you, from what I understand. Well, yeah, here's the thing is that wealth managers will work with you, Ryan. The challenge is, here's the thing. You have the largest wealth transfer in the history happening in the next 20 years, right? Like, baby boomers are dying off. They have estates worth millions. That's what the financial institutions are going after. They'll happily say, we'll take your $200,000 and invest it and whatever, but the fees are going to be really high. And that's why, like, companies, and I'm not saying you should use them. I don't use them myself, but that's why companies like Wealthsimple and Quest Trade and all these companies are doing great. They're doing great because they're like, hey, man, come work with us. We'll lower your fees big time. And now what are the financial institutions doing? They're like, oh, we have, I think they're saying we got a robo-advisor too. We got a robo-advisor too, because they're losing their market share, right? Because people are waking up to the fees attached to their investments. My wife needs to hear about this. Yep. I believe this is recorded. Good morning. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to the questions here, man. I've not forgotten. I prefer stock and crypto over a large, more volatile gain. Yeah, to each their own, right? It depends how old you are. Crypto could be a great play. Like, ultimately, I always say, I'm invested in crypto. I don't have a large percentage, but I'm in it. But I'm not saying that's right for you, right? But if you're younger, if crypto does what it possibly can do, which ultimately nobody knows, no matter what anybody says they know, ultimately nobody knows. I think blockchain technology is incredible, right? Whether, Bitcoin survives or whatever it may be, who knows, right? But I will say, like, if you're younger, you can take more risks on stuff like that, because if it does hit, it's great, right? But again, who knows? Good day, S&P 500, cancer, Can you guys help me? I want my money to start working for me. Running away. Yeah, click on for that link. We can help you. As a realtor, do you recommend leasing a vehicle? I lease mine. Again, Ryan, there's no one size that fits all. But if you can have a car paid off and have no payments for 5 years and still write up the kilometers, then I would heavily look at that, right? Because again, I haven't seen a write-off that outperforms no payment at all, right? Because you can still write off a car. You can write off the kilometers of a car. Again, I'm going to be clear. The write-off on a used car is not as exciting as a lease write-off. But again, run the math on it, right? And that's what our program will help you do. I'm going up. Okay. Are you more? So Jackie, that's my more stock. I'm a 70-30. So 70% of my assets are in real estate, 30% are in stocks. So that's my asset allocation. I like real estate. I love it. That's probably my, that's where 70% of my assets are, 30% are in stocks, right? So I stick with that. I think I'm going to manage, like, that's been my asset allocation now for the better part of a decade. And I'm very comfortable where it is there, right? So that's where I continue to do that. So yeah, like as you can see, let's talk about real estate for a second. Real estate, I love real estate. People are always worried about the markets. And again, if anybody tells you they know, then you got to run away. I'm telling you, I don't know, because ultimately nobody knows. All you can do is look at the data when it comes to real estate in Canada. Here's the reality. The average, nobody talks about this, because this is, we can talk about interest rates and so forth, which is critical, like that sustain a market. Like a couple things would hurt this real estate market. Number one is interest rates going up. Two is adding a capital gain tax on your primary residence, which I don't think any government's going to do, because they pretty much sign their they'd be out of government in most cases. That's what I would say. So, but this is what most people are not talking about when it comes to the real estate market. The average Canadian family, just so you know, has 1.7 kids per family. That's not enough to sustain a population. If you added no more immigration into our country and just let Canada do what it does naturally, our population, believe it or not, would be retracting, right? So we are letting in, I think 2021 is an all-time record for immigrants coming to our country. So that will continually feed the need for housing. We've got tons of space here, right? Tons of resources. There's no shortage of Canadians that want to come here, or people want to come to Canada, right? So if this constant flow of immigrants keep coming into this country, then that's going to feed this need for housing. We're just going to need it, hands down. And the best part of it is that Canada's like one of the best, if not the best country to live in the world. Like, people always talk about winning the lottery. This is the lottery. If you live here, you won the lottery. Like, look at your passport and say, man, I had 0.5% of a chance of being born in this country, right? And so that's the best part. So point being is that's why I like real estate. I don't see any slowdown in immigration in Canada. I don't see it happening. And I don't know how they're going to raise rates. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. But again, if immigration stays strong, we're going to need, this housing market is inevitably going to continue to grow, for a long time. I use a self-directed Tfsa trade stock. Good for you, Ryan. That's, again, the challenge is if you have under, it's actually not $500,000, it's about $1 million. It's probably taking a look either, again, not saying most people should, but looking at a robo-advisor or a self-directed is probably two of the best ways to go. Clarify, what do you mean by $500,000 as required by? It's not, to clarify it, Marie, is that it's not that you can't, they won't manage your money at a financial institution with under $500,000. I'm saying the fees attached to it are going to be extraordinarily high. Hello from Toronto. Hey, Katerina, how are you? What is the going rate for a financial advisor? Again, if you have under $1 million, I would heavily look at going to a Marge. Take a look at a robo-advisor like a Questrade or a Wealthsimple, right? If not, if you have under $1 million, it's really tough that I've seen to get your fees under 1.5%. And, not saying it can't happen, right? I get yelled at by people all the time. It's like, I always laugh when they yell at me like, oh, you don't know what you're talking. I'm like, I don't have a horse in this race, man. I'm not trying to manage your money. At what point have I sat there and said, give me your money in Enriched Academy? We don't manage money. That's why I think people love us so much, is they're like, man, finally an honest approach towards investing. That maintains the purity of our company. We've been offered big 6-figure checks for sponsorship at our company by lots of financial institutions. We said no to all of them. right? And the reason why is because we don't want to water down our message, right? Saying, oh, you like what I said? Well, use this person. We don't do that, right? So anyways, hello from Toronto. My lease brings down my tax bracket, though. Yeah, again, you know what, Ryan? As I said, to each their own. There's no one size that fits all. Take a look, and there's multiple ways that you can write down your tax bracket. A car is one of them. So there you go. Is this strictly Canadian types of investment, diversified worldwide? Again, so your asset allocation, Sylvia, as I said, an asset allocation can be, you have Canadian stock, American stock, global stock. So there's multiple ways to do it. So that's a diversified portfolio. A diversified portfolio is not investing in just Canadian companies or Canadian United States. It's more than that. I missed the beginning of this. Are you looking for financial advisors? No, we are not financial advisors. We are not. So we have a webinar coming up on crypto. There you go. Please verbalize, okay? Leslie says, yes, thank you, Kevin. I signed up a few years ago. It was such an excellent program and worth it. The best thing I ever did. Now out of debt, $75,000 investing. There you go. Thank you, Leslie. As I said, these are participants. I don't know they're going to be on this call. Click for that assessment call. It really is an amazing program. So thank you, Leslie. Way to go. Jackie, I admire the integrity in Enriched Academy. That's why I trust the education so much. Thank you, Jackie. That's the beacon of what we're trying to be. Is right there is a brand people can trust. Again, we're not saying there's too many people out there that say, I know the markets are going to crash. But they say it every year. And if 1 year they're right. And then they, we're like, how'd you know? Ultimately, nobody knows. I honestly thought the markets, if you asked me when the pandemic hit, I thought January 2021, I thought the governments were printing money. Okay. I thought that might've ended. And I thought January 2021 that the markets were really going to, I thought the markets were going to collapse, and they didn't. So again, that's why I never make public predictions. But again, thank you for the integrity point. We appreciate that. What do you think about leveraged investing? Can maybe be a little more specific on that? That'd be great. Will this video be available later? I believe, Mark, can you answer that? Is it okay if you booked a call if you purchased the program a few years ago but didn't really? Yep, Lisa, absolutely book the call. We want to get you up and running. Our next webinar, just so you know, will be November 9th. And it's on YouTube recorded. So there you go, Tom. What tax benefits could one get owning an investment property? Again, Damon, there's multiple answers to that question. If you used equity out of your primary residence to purchase that home, you could, again, you got to talk to an accountant. These are all surface level questions, right? I don't know enough about what your situation is. But you can write off the income. You can write off the interest if you use the equity out of your primary residence to do that, if it's done properly. There's ways you have to set those accounts up so you don't use your home equity line of credit as a slush fund, but you could do that. You could, if you've do it through a holding company, your investment properties, there's a way to do it that as well. So again, there's multiple ways to do it. I've been with an ER advisor and I'm learning so much. How can I decrease my capital gains from a sale of a property? You know what? That is a great question to ask an accountant. I will say this, and I'm going to tell everybody this as well. You cannot do it on your own, okay? You really, really, really need an unbelievable accountant that knows the tax law, right? This isn't about stretching the rules and living outside the boundaries. There's a tax code. And you need to make sure you have an accountant that follows it properly, right? And you need a great accountant today. I think you need an incredible mortgage broker. If you want to buy investment properties, absolutely without a doubt, you need a mortgage broker. No question about that, right? Unless if you're buying an investment property, even though mortgage brokers can do this now, but if you're buying an investment property in a holding company, mortgage brokers have a little more of a challenge doing it, but they still can, just to be clear. But if you're buying an investment property just under your own personal name, a mortgage broker is a no-brainer. Years ago, I took out a loan for making an investment, then had a clawback, lost a bunch of money because I didn't have enough to pay back the loan. So, okay, so leverage investing, Merritt, is so again, listen, it all depends on how you do it. Like for me, I do it. I leverage equity out of properties that I own to buy more properties. I'm looking into doing it right now, right? Why wouldn't I do that? But it fits within a specific formula that I wrote, that I created for myself, that works for me. It wouldn't work for everybody else because I have my own specific targets and goals. So I don't think it's a challenge, but again, it depends what kind of investment you're making, right? The problem I see is like, I talked about this with the NHL alumni earlier last week when we were talking to past NHL players. Like a lot of them get taken advantage of. Like it's bad. Like, I mean, tens of millions of dollars, and they take risks in these diamond companies, gold companies, restaurants, whatever it may be, and fully uneducated. So if you're taking equity out of your property to buy more real estate, I look at that and go, man, real estate's kind of up and down all the way up. Doesn't mean you can't make mistakes, but as I said, would I leverage equity out of one of my investment properties to buy into something that I like, into something I wasn't fully educated in, or based on a thing? Probably not. I'm just not there in my career anymore. I've made enough of those. Anyways, that's just my thought. So, sale is not on my primary. A sale of property is not on my primary residence from a divorce. Yeah. So again, what I would do, Deborah, is talk to a great accountant. That they're the ones that are going to be. If you don't have one, search one out for sure. But because an accountant would be able to answer that better than I could, for sure. That's why I have accountants, right? They, as I said, they tell me what the tax law is. I say, great, let's work within that, and then go from there. All right. What a great session, everyone. Thank you, Deborah. I wish I could answer the question better for you, as I said. But I think I answered that the way that I wish somebody would answer it with me. Have a great accountant, and it's a game changer. It really is, right? Great one that is reputable, that follows the tax code. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so want to wish everybody the best. What a great session. And November 9th, click on, thanks, Marie. Click on to the next session. They're always amazing, and look forward to seeing everybody soon at one of our live events or at a future session. So thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Deborah. And we really appreciate it. That's what we're here to do. So thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Damon. Thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Jana. All right, I got to jump on another call. So if I don't say thanks to the people that say thank you, it's not intentional. Bye, everyone. Bye, Tina.